Good morning from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. Just gonna push the camera back a little bit. That's better. It's Saturday, the 6th of December 2025, and the time is 10:33 a.m. Shabbat Shalom, and if you happen to be Dutch and a Christian, Happy St. Nicolaus Day. Isn't that the day when Black Peter runs amok and puts all the naughty children in sacks and beats them with sticks and feeds them coal? Swings and roundabouts in the space-time continuum, good and evil, dark and light, spinning in infinity, yin and yang, and let us say, Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. In spite of everything, always try to remember to praise God. And if you don't believe in God, then rejoice and praise in your own innate magic and becoming of the best version of yourselves. So on that note, I'm becoming the best version of my own self. Here we are at Sacred Space, Titania's Realm, sipping a cup of tea, watching my birdie boys. I did a very naughty thing yesterday and today. Yesterday I ate a whole packet of white chocolate bullets, which were delicious, but I devoured the entire packet. I do this. I binge sweets. It's very naughty. That's why I'm fat. I could be a svelte size 12 or even, God forbid, 10, although that would be a bit scrawny looking on it, but I ate too many sweets. So this morning I woke up and the very first thought was, you need to eat your marzipan. We call it marzipan in German. Well, my mother's German culture called it marzipan. Anyway, marzipan, almond, sweet paste. So I took off my CPAP mask and I was French kissing the morning as I do. And I wrote on my Facebook status about waking up and opening the blind, and because I didn't have my glasses on, I'm like dreaming of marzipan, a waking dream because I was awake, trying to figure out what kind of bird was staring at me with astonishment because I'd pulled up the timber blinds and was blearily staring out at the morning light. 7:30, by the gods. I only went to bed at about 1:15, 1:30. So not a lot of sleep, but anyway, I had a better sleep result this morning, 0.3, whereas yesterday was 2.0. It was a bad night the night before. It's probably why I couldn't sustain the energy to dance for the entire gig and a half, because I arrived early to support Timmy and the Mike Beale band. But yeah, I couldn't do the whole night. I had planned on it. I booked my parking for the whole 5 hours and everything. But anyway, it is what it is, people of Earth. When you're tired, you're tired. You just got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. Anyway, so I put my glasses on, realised that the bird that was staring at me in rather astonished disapproval about me being so late opening up my window was a kookaburra, one of my little kookaburra friends that I talk to and feed here on occasion. Haven't fed them for a while because I stopped buying rotisserie chicken, so I don't have as much scrap chicken to, share out with the wild ones. But and they're kind of letting me know in a way that they could do with a bit of a treat too. Anyway, so the very first thought then was I need to eat the marzipan. I was very first thought entered my brain upon awakening. Can you believe it? By the gods. And so what did I do? I ate something healthy and microwaved up some roast vegetables that I roasted in my air fryer the night before. Thought better eat those or they'll just go off and be wasted. Had those for breakfast, so I was quite hungry. And then I thought, oh, well, now I've been a good mama tea and I've had roasted vegetables for breakfast. You know, a glass, IKEA glass bowl full. I'll treat myself to a piece of marzipan. No impulse control, none at all. You're lucky, gentlemen of earth, that I don't apply that to sex or I'd be dangerous. So I sat there and I had my first cup of tea of the morning in the studio with my birdie boys, and I devoured a piece of marzipan. I think there's about 12 pieces in the packet. You buy it in Aldi, it's from Lübeck. Lübeck is the best marzipan in the world. I only buy Lübeck, and it only comes out around Christmas time. I won't waste money on stupidity or less quality marzipan, because it just tastes like dirt then. Feels like you're eating dirt. And you know, I've reached the age and stage of life where I refuse to eat, you know, crap or poor quality products. If I want something, I want it to be the best, people of earth, according to my budgetary constraints at the time, you understand. If I can't afford the best, I simply go without, which is a bit depressing, but second-rate chocolate and second-rate marzipan, mama tea ain't got no time for that. Can apply that to second-rate men as well. Well, anyway, I should get back out there in the dating scene, but I look around and apart from my wonderful platonic friends in the bands who are so lovely to me, they really are, you know, I look around the club at the potential men that appear vaguely, give me the vague looking over, you know, giving me the eye very vaguely, and I think very few are appetizing at all. And it's not them, it's me. I've been too damaged by men and I can't be bothered really. So I devoured an entire packet of marzipan this morning. And do you know what? For a brief moment I actually felt guilty, and then I thought, no, fuck it. Fuck it all, people of earth. We never know what's around the corner. It's a beautiful day and life is beautiful and there's peace here and in my sacred space garden, but you know, life comes in waves and troughs, and you never know when I'm going to get slumped and dumped and stomped again. So I'm going to enjoy that bloody marzipan and not feel guilty. So I ate the whole packet. That's what happens when I buy it, which is another reason why I try not to buy it actually, because I know how undisciplined I am when it comes to my favourite sweets. Oh, it was good, you know. I've still got kind of a mouth feel in my cheek linings, like taste memory. It's all like nom 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 nom, but I don't want any more. I'm satisfied. It's a wonderful feeling when a woman is satisfied. Some of you men might know what I'm speaking of here. Some of you men don't know how to satisfy a woman. Well, it's a pity for you, isn't it, my loves? You don't know what you're missing. When you give of yourself to a woman, all of yourself, beautifully, generously, powerfully, majestically. When you can satisfy her in all aspects of her being, that is the most delicious sensation of all. Right, so on that note, in all seriousness, I am going to continue with reading a chapter 2 of Through the Looking Glass. A marzipan flavoured cheek lining. I could just sit here and go suck on my own cheek lining for a while, couldn't I? That would be weird though, so I'm going to stop while I'm ahead. But you have to laugh. And the other thing I did this morning, because I decided that it wasn't very kosher, was I cleaned all my makeup brushes. I only wear makeup when I go dancing, so it used to be once a week, but now it's drifting into less frequency because I'm tired and it costs a lot of money to go out. So, and my moods are a bit flubbery, I've noticed. Go in and out of mood states, so I just limit it to go out for my favourite bands, or in particular the bands who treat me like I'm their favourite, which of course I'm not. You know, there are other dancers who are other fans and other dancers who contribute to the vibe, but it was just so lovely, you know. When I turned up, I got there at 9. Timmy looked at me and smiled and waved, and I waved back. He's a lovely man. He's a beautiful soul. And then, you know, later on when Ramjet arrived, I actually didn't know they'd arrived a bit earlier to watch the tail end of, you know, to enjoy the tail end of the Mike Beale band. And I just felt this presence behind me, and I turned and looked, and it was Juddy and Nathan. And Nathan high-fived me as he always does. I high-fived him back, and Nathan nodded, you know. And so I was happy to see them actually relaxing pre their performance. They'd already done another gig at the Eat Street at North Shore. So they had a busy night last night, 2 gigs in one night. That's a lot, you know. It's a lot. And I didn't see Ness at first, but she arrived shortly after. And she's just so lovely to me. It's just beautiful. I want to cry when I think about it. I miss my own daughters, actually. That's why I want to cry. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm getting all emotional. We have to rein it in, won't we? We'll rein it in. But I'm allowed to be emotional, people of Earth. I'm a very emotional woman. It's why I'm single. You know. Most people can't handle it, and which is okay. That's their programming and upbringing and spirit. It's got nothing to do with me. So and then Ness arrived and she said hello and then reached over before they got up on stage. She gave me a hug and a kiss on the cheek, which was lovely, and. Who else came in? Someone else. Oh, yes. And Luke, the drummer, arrived, and he, you know, we gave each other our high five as we often do too. And he's so sweet with me. He really is a sweet man. They're all sweet, dear sweet men. Well, they've been sweet to me. You know, I guess I've grown on them over the last 15, 20 years of dancing out in the sea with my difficult, tetchy, fractious, ornery, you know, sabra, prickly ways. My prickly ways used to drive David Davidson completely mental. And I said, why do you think I'm prickly? There's a reason I'm like this. It's trauma, you idiot. Anyway, it doesn't matter now, does it? He's dead. He can't be upset by my, how did he phrase it? Itchy personality. Well, he didn't like my laugh. He didn't like my personality, but he certainly liked my vagina on a few occasions. In other words, he was a fucking pig. But anyway, dead pigs can't hurt me anymore. And Mamatu's surrounded by good, kind, loving men who treat me like a queen, actually. It's delightful because I'm not used to being treated so lovely, including from my family of origin when I was a child and right up to their deaths when I was 47. So it's a unique experience to be treated with sweetness and kindness by, in particular, people of the male gender. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so Luke arrived, said hello to me, and he's tall. He's a very nice man. He's much taller than me, which wouldn't be hard. Everyone's taller than me, people of Earth. Except Juddy and Timmy are roughly my height, I think. Juddy might be a little bit taller. I'm not sure, actually. But anyway, so I look at Luke and we high-five, pressed our hands against each other, and he just smiled at me, and then he did this, like clasped my hand, like real, I got you, Tanya, I got you. That's how it felt, you know, like nothing romantic or weird, you know, don't get anything wrong there, but he's just so sweet to me. It's like having family, you know, but I don't actually have family anymore, you know. I have, my cousins probably still watch my videos. I haven't heard from them for a long time, but, you know, they pop up on my Facebook and little likes, and, you know, I think a couple of them still watch my YouTube videos, but I don't have any family connections at all now that both my daughters have been estranged for years now. And it's why it was so lovely when my friend Jared, who's like a brother to me, he is actually family to me, popped up on Monday, and we had our lovely outing at Coochie-Mudlo Island. And yes, that was a lovely thing, actually. But you know, my weekends out when I go dancing, just soaking up like a sponge the sweetness and kindness of friends and acquaintances. It's very meaningful and lovely to me. It literally strengthens me to get me through my week sometimes, and helps me be able to pour out energy and strengthen some of you that watch my videos and watch me blossom and grow and evolve and unfurl for my future self too. Not sure where my future is going to be or who my future is going to be with, if with anyone. But at the moment I'm rejoicing, being in the garden with my birds. I was very happy to see that Manny Wax won his case against his first abuser from his childhood yesterday on 4 counts. What a relief that must be after fighting that 4 decades long battle. And I'm kind of grieving the fact that my own sister prevented me from going to the police when I was 20 to get justice against our perpetrator, my godfather and her one-time stepfather. And how different my life would have been if, as a lawyer, she was actually a lawyer by profession, if she had stood with me side by side courageously and brought that man down, brought all of them down that harmed us. Wow. It is what it is, people of Earth. But Manny Wax got justice and closure and much deserved peace and joy. And he posted a video, I just saw it this morning, of him dancing at a nightclub after, and I was like, you go, Manny, you dance wildly and triumphantly with your beautiful partner. You just breathe life now and enjoy every spare scrap moment of it. It's yours, and you fought long and hard, and No one deserves more than you, me, and all of us survivors of CSA than to thrive and be joyous and be triumphant and glorious and live in joy and delight and good health and prosperity and comfort and ease with great affection and maybe one day romance and passion in my life with someone who truly loves me and is good and kind. And it is what it is, people of Earth. It is what it is. Some people were fortunate to have the financial, emotional, mental, physical, legal backing to triumph against their adversaries, and in my case that was long denied me right back to when I was 6 years old, because when I was 6 years old my sister was 21 and knew exactly who and what I was being exposed to on a daily basis. So quite frankly she could have stepped in then and there but chose not to. And no real judgment on that, you know, she was newly married with a newborn baby and off her head most of the time. I remember her being quite hysterical in the early months of Marika's birth, struggling, and you know, having a newborn is intense and a lot of work and sleeplessness. And my mother was no support to her, and she was certainly no support to me when I had my children either. So it is what it is, people of Earth. But I often wonder if just one person in my neighbourhood who all knew, they all knew, had stepped in and said, this is not going to happen to Tanya. We're going to get her out of the situation. How different my childhood and my adulthood and even now my older age could have, would have, should have, might have been. But there are no coulds or woulds or shoulds, there only is what is. And in a weird way I'm kind of happy because I survived them all. Like a warrior goddess, like a Viking berserker queen, I fought through, and I didn't get justice, certainly not with the law that sold me down the river so many times and cost me houses and prosperity. I didn't get human justice, but I got something actually infinitely more long-lasting and more powerful. Natural justice, the justice of the gods. So mote it be. God's will be done. There will be rectification, tikkun olam, in my own life very, very soon. True love, better health, prosperity manifested by my own creativity and willpower and bestowed upon me by the gods, because actually, if truth be known, all wealth and all benevolence, blessings and curses are poured down to us from a higher power. I won't give it a particular name. Some people call it universe, some people call it God, some people call it the Ein Sof Or in Kabbalah, the primal will to good, the light that dwells in the thought, as Linda Moulton Howe likes to phrase it. I like that. The light that dwells in the thought. Or is it the thought that dwells in the light? The I and the thou. Ultimately, everything that comes to us is dreamed and manifested and co-created from within. As above, so below. Just noticed I washed these quite thoroughly, but there's still bits of glitter in amongst that. I use a product called Question Beauty that's got the most wonderful glittery eyeshadows. Cost me a fucking small fortune in my opinion. Well, because of my budget, you understand. To me, it's a lot of money. And I like to put on purple and pink eyeshadows, and then I zhuzh it up with their glitter, and it's amazing how long it stays though in the brushes. It's probably not all that good for me when I think about it. If it stays in the brushes like that, what's it doing to my face? But anyway, let me just put those back out in the sun. I like to kill germs, if there are any germs, bacteria, with sunlight. Sunlight is the best healer there is, except if you're prone to skin cancers like I am. But anyway, life goes on. Right, 26 minutes in, I still haven't started reading. Naughty mama tea. My tea's even gone cold. Kermie's got a blueberry I just gave him, so he's a happy bird. And on we go. Chapter 2. The Garden of Live Flowers. I should see the garden far better, said Alice to herself, if I could get to the top of that hill. And here's a path that leads straight to it. At least, no, it doesn't do that. After going a few yards along the path and turning several sharp corners. But I suppose it will at last. But how curiously it twists. It's more like a corkscrew than a path. Well, this turn goes to the hill, I suppose. No, it doesn't. This goes straight back to the house. Well then, I'll try it the other way. And so she did, wandering up and down and trying turn after turn, but always coming back to the house. Do what she would. Indeed, once, when she turned a corner rather more quickly than usual, she ran against it before she could stop herself. It's no use talking about it, Alice said, looking up at the house and pretending it was arguing with her. I'm not going in again yet. I know I should have to get through the looking glass again, back into the old room, and there'd be an end of all my adventures. So resolutely turning her back upon the house, she set out once more down the path, determined to keep straight on till she got to the hill. For a few minutes, all went on well, and she was just saying, I really shall do it this time, when the path gave a sudden twist and shook itself, as she described it afterwards. And the next moment she found herself actually walking in at the door. Oh, it's too bad, she cried. I never saw such a house for getting in the way. Never. However, there was the hill full in sight, so there was nothing to be done but start again. This time she came upon a large flower bed with a border of daisies and a willow tree growing in the middle. "Oh, Tiger Lily," said Alice, addressing herself to one that was waving gracefully about in the wind. "I wish you could talk." "We can talk," said the Tiger Lily, "when there's anybody worth talking to." This is true. Trees talk to you, and you can talk to plants, but trees talk to you not in words, people of Earth. Don't get me wrong, I'm not crazy, although some people would like to think that. But trees talk to you in kind of symbols and images. And when I lie under the golden rain tree, which I haven't yet, I've moved my hammock, as you can see. This summer I've chosen to lie under. I've only lain there a few times in the last week or so. I've chosen to lie under the frangipani tree, and I haven't had any actual communication per se from the frangipani tree yet. I guess it's still feeling into my energy. But when I lie under the golden rain tree, it speaks to me most definitively. As I say, sort of in images, sensations, inspirations, intuitions, and it helped me a lot during the COVID years. Here's my little birdie boy playing with his toys. You playing with your toys, little boy? You're a very, very abundant, wealthy little bird. You didn't pay 1 cent for anything, but it all arrived in your lap because you're a celebrity. It's all given to you by the mamati and the paparazzi, or we should say the parrotrazzi. Have to laugh, don't you? He got all shy and went away. All shy. Good boy. Good boy. Anyway, where were we? Yes, so what I'm saying to all the people when I was growing up, they used to say, talk to your flowers, talk to your garden plants, talk to your indoor plants. We always used to think, oh, they're a bit mad, aren't they? It's been proven. They do resonate. They do understand frequency and intention and respond to love. And if you can just sort of tune it out a little bit, drop out of your own conscious mind and relax and commune with the trees. They actually have a lot to talk about, but you just, you're not always consciously aware of what's actually being transmitted to you, but it's like a spiritual kind of gnosis or a shift in your own being. I highly recommend it anyway. Try it. You'll be surprised. Be respectful. Don't just go up to any tree and demand that they speak to you. It's like people. Some trees don't like you on sight, like my grumpy tree over there. Didn't like being hugged. Do not touch me. Do not hug me. Don't want to be touched by random humans. I said, I'm not random, I live here. I was actually quite hurt by its rejection. And then a couple of years later, it said to me, I'm not the grumpy tree anymore. You can hug me now if you wish. And then it was me that went off in a fit of pique and said, no, you rejected me for years, now I don't want to hug you. So now we have what I call the Holland Park standoff. He does what he does, and I do what I do. But he's a lovely tree, actually. He really is a wonderful tree. I'm surrounded by the most beautiful souls at any time in the space-time continuum, human and non-human, vegetable, animal, bird, minerals, and life is pretty good. And I'm not even under the influence of any psychotropic medication or mind-altering medication, except for lashings of marzipan, cups of tea, and 2 Jack Daniels last night. So I don't feel mind-altered at all. I feel quite wonderful and serene, people of Earth. Yay to serenity. And it did my heart great joy to see Manny Wax win his case. It really did. It's nice to see someone win against monsters. May there be more of it in this world, and may there be less perpetrators of sexual abuse on children and animals. May there be a better world for all of us. On a good day, you can almost hear it breathing. The bamboo creaking, and I could hear the flapping of the crow's wings. Yes, Sacred Space Garden is breathing. Alice was so astonished that she couldn't speak for a minute. It quite seemed to take her breath away. At length, as the tiger lily only went on, waving about, she spoke again in a timid voice, almost in a whisper. And can all the flowers talk? As well as you can, said the tiger lily, and a great deal louder. It isn't manners for us to begin, you know, said the rose, and I really was wondering when you'd speak. Said I to myself, her face has got some sense in it, though it's not a clever one. Still, you're the right colour, and that goes a long way. Well, I never. Who would have thought that roses would be particular about human colours and races? We won't buy into that. I don't believe that roses would care about our colours at all. We're all part of the cosmic garden, come in all shapes and sizes and colours and personalities and proclivities. Some of us are white, short, fat hobbit women who like to eat marzipan for breakfast. By all the gods. I don't care about the colour, the tiger lily remarked. If only her petals curled up a little more, she'd be all right. Alice didn't like being criticised, so she began asking questions. Aren't you sometimes frightened at being planted out here with nobody to take care of you? There's the tree in the middle, said the rose. What else is it good for? But what could it do if any danger came? Alice asked. It could bark, said the rose. It says, bow wow, cried a daisy. That's why its branches are all called boughs. Didn't you know that? Cried another daisy. And here they all began, shouting together, till the air seemed quite full of little shrill voices. Silence, every one of you, cried the tiger lily, waving itself passionately from side to side and trembling, all with excitement. Tiger lilies are quite lovely flowers. They smell beautiful too. I'm very fond of olfactory sensations, like partly why I like marzipan so much is the smell as well as the taste. It's like, I'm still feasting on it, even though it was, quite some time ago that I ate it. Perhaps I'll buy some more. It's $6 for a little packet that I devour in 2 minutes. It's not very good financial sense, but it feeds the soul in more ways than one, darlings. Oh, you have to laugh. Wow. They know I can't get at them, it panted, bending its quivering head towards Alice, or they wouldn't dare to do it. Never mind, Alice said in a soothing tone, and stooping down to the daisies, who were just beginning again, she whispered, "If you don't hold your tongues, I'll pick you." There was silence in a moment, and several of the pink daisies turned white. "That's right," said the tiger lily. "The daisies are worst of all. When one speaks, they all begin, and it's enough to make one wither to hear the way they go on." I'm just going to nip inside and heat up my tea. I want to show you my beautiful Brindabella striped raspberry tiger rose. I call it the Lazarus rose because the plant itself barely hangs on to life, people of Earth. It's got two stems that are already dead, and it just struggles. And every year though, without fail, even though it's half alive and half dead and lives in the shadowlands a bit like Mama too, splonging in the shadowlands between life and death, that rose is so like me. It still pumps out the most exquisite flower, almost like a triumphant fuck you to everything, everything, everything. It blooms to spite itself, in spite itself, in spite of everything, and every time it blooms, I remember who I am and think, me too, rose bush, me too. We're prickly and tetchy and mood disordered and severely traumatized, and we move in and out of ordinary reality, and sometimes we pump out the most wonderful acts of creativity and dance. In the winds of fate, we dance. So I'll be back shortly with the rose to show you, because I put it up on Facebook, but not all of you across the world have access to my Facebook, people of Earth. So I'll show you on my YouTube channel the wondrous rose, and you can just imagine the fragrance too. It's actually the last of my roses, the one that barely stays alive, to have, to still be alive. I have a sport growing as a climbing rose that's sported because the grafted rose died, and the sport kept thriving on it. It's how it wants to be. That's how it wants to be. But the sport that is climbing on my garden arch is a single red rose, but just single petals, so not very attractive. But you know what? That's the form it wanted to thrive in. I thought, who am I to cut it back and let it be in its form? But this is the Brindabella Raspberry Tiger that I've now renamed the Lazarus Rose, because it just won't fucking quit or die. You can see the beautiful stripes there in the under foliage, what do you call that? The undercarriage? Anyway, isn't it exquisite? And the smell, people are there. The smell is just, yes, let's get it in the light. You can't really you can't really get the feel for it unless it's suffused in the light. Look at that. Isn't it magical? My materialist rationalist friends that come to my channel, it's not magical, Tanya Aarons. It's science. It's science. Yes, it is. It's science. It's botany. It's life force. But it's imbued with spirit, strength and resilience and courage and beauty. Makes me happy. Now where am I going to put it so it won't topple over and break the little vase? I guess I shall have to hold on to it now. Every now and then we're going to. And it's all striped. It's all striped just like me. Well, I'm not striped, I'm freckled. But we all have our flaws, don't we, people of Earth? Right, now where were we? How is it you can all talk so nicely? Alice said, hoping to get it into a better temper by a compliment. I've been in many gardens before, but none of the flowers could talk. I think I beg to differ. I beg to differ. They don't usually talk in words, though, in human language. It's a form of telepathy, I suppose. Yes, it is a form of telepathy. Put your hand down and feel the ground, said the tiger lily, and then you'll know why. This time she came upon a large flower bed. Just reading the title to that story, to that picture, sorry. Right, you are. Every time I look at that rose, my heart just blooms. We're even matching colours today. Did that quite unconsciously, didn't I? If I stuck it in my hair, it would be a perfect match. But I won't stick it in my hair, you understand. It'll damage it. You want it to bloom on. Bloom on, brave rose. You just keep blooming, my darling. bloom wild and free for as long as you can. Never ever let the bastards grind you down. We get pruned occasionally. I have to actually prune the dead sticks off it. But we shuck off the dead, empty, non-soul nourishing, non-conducive to good health. We shuck off the empty and the vapid and the cruel, and we shed our skin like the snake we are. And, well, I am a wood snake in Chinese astrology. And we just glisten and listen and bliss out on wherever the journey takes us next. Put your hand down and feel the ground, said the tiger lily, then you'll know why. Alice did so. It's very hard, she said, but I don't see what that has to do with it. In most gardens, the tiger lily said, they make the beds too soft so that the flowers are always asleep. This sounded a very good reason, and Alice was quite pleased to know it. I never thought of that before, she said. It's my opinion that you never think at all, the rose said in a rather severe tone. That one sounds like quite an unpleasant rose. This one has a lovely energy to it, sweet and tender and kind. Oh, we need to say a blessing for the first rose of the season. I forgot to say the blessing. Just bear with me. In Hebrew, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh, amen. That means it's a blessing for the first time something blooms or something wonderful happens, and every year it blooms again. It gets blessed, and I'm blessed by it too. I almost didn't want to pick it, but I wanted to fully enjoy its bounty and its beauty. Sometimes I don't pick it though. Sometimes I just leave it on the bush just as so it can see that it's triumphantly fighting its way through. And sometimes when you pick it, it gives it enough strength to co-create with the gods another bloom. You know, like when I deadhead my gardenias, but I think they've finished their flush. This is the last of the gardenias, and I was already a bit tired, but I picked it because it was the last. Right. I never saw anybody that looked stupider, a violet said suddenly, so that Alice quite jumped, for it hadn't spoken before. I do love my violets too. I grow them under my lime tree. Hold your tongue, cried the tiger lily, as if you ever saw anybody. You keep your head under the leaves and snore away there till you know no more what's going on in the world than if you were a bud. Which is true. The flowers are always just tucked under, and sometimes they pop up above the leaves, but not very often. They're usually tucked very timidly underneath the foliage of the violet leaves. Are there any more people in the garden besides me? Alice said, not choosing to notice the rose's last remark. "There's one other flower in the garden that can move about like you," said the rose. "I wonder how you do it." "You're always wondering," said the tiger lily. "But she's more bushy than you are." "Is she like me?" Alice asked eagerly, for the thought crossed her mind. There's another little girl in the garden somewhere. "Well, she has the same awkward shape as you," the rose said. "But she's redder, and her petals are shorter, I think." "They're done up close, almost like a dahlia," said the tiger lily. "Not tumbled about anyhow, like yours." "That's not your fault," the rose added kindly. "You're beginning to fade, you know, and then one can't help one's petals getting a little untidy." Alice didn't like this idea at all, so, to change the subject, she asked, "Does she ever come out here?" "I dare say you'll see her soon," said the rose. "She's one of the kind that has 9 spikes, you know." "Where does she wear them?" Alice asked with some curiosity. "Why, all round her head, of course," the rose replied. "I was wondering you hadn't got some too. I thought it was the regular rule." "She's coming," cried the larkspur. "I hear her footstep, thump, thump, along the gravel walk." And Alice looked round eagerly and found that it was the Red Queen. "She's grown a good deal," was her first remark. She had indeed. When Alice first found her in the ashes, she had been only 3 inches high. And here she was, half a head taller than Alice herself. Astonishing. Gives a whole new meaning to getting too big for your boots, doesn't it? "It's the fresh air that does it," said the rose. "Wonderfully fine air it is out here." "I think I'll go and meet her," said Alice, for though the flowers were interesting enough, she felt that it would be far grander to have a talk with a real queen. "You can't possibly do that," said the rose. "I should advise you to walk the other way." This sounded nonsense to Alice, so she said nothing, but set off at once towards the Red Queen. To her surprise, she lost sight of her in a moment and found herself walking in at the front door again. A little provoked, she drew back, and, after looking everywhere for the Queen, whom she spied out at last a long way off, she thought she would try the plan, this time, of walking in the opposite direction. It succeeded beautifully. She had not been walking a minute before she found herself face to face with the Red Queen, and full in sight of the hill she had been so long aiming at. "Where do you come from?" said the Red Queen. "And where are you going? Look up, speak nicely, and don't twiddle your fingers all the time." Alice attended to all these directions and explained as well as she could that she had lost her way. "I don't know what you mean by your way," said the Queen. "All the ways about here belong to me." "But why did you come out here at all?" she added in a kinder tone. A curtsy while you're thinking what to say. It saves time. Alice wondered a little at this, but she was too much in awe of the Queen to disbelieve it. I'll try it when I go home, she thought to herself, the next time I'm a little late for dinner. It's time for you to answer now, the Queen said, looking at her watch. Open your mouth a little wider when you speak, and always say, Your Majesty. I only wanted to see what the garden was like, Your Majesty. That's right, said the Queen, patting her on the head, which Alice didn't like at all. Though when you say garden, I've seen gardens compared with which this would be a wilderness. Alice didn't dare to argue the point, but went on. And I thought I'd try and find my way to the top of that hill. When you say hill, the Queen interrupted, I could show you hills in comparison with which you'd call that a valley. It's a bit like when I migrated here from Wellington, New Zealand, and like the mountains here that they call mountains, like Mount Gravatt. It's just a very large hill. I climbed bigger hills chasing my horse when I was a teenager. It's like your hills are just mere little, well, they're not molehills, but they certainly aren't what we'd categorise as mountains back home. By all the gods. Although Paddington's a bit the closest similarity to the hills we have in Wellington. And even then they're not quite as steep. But it is what it is, people of Earth. It's all relative to what your terrain looks like in your particular part of this wondrous blue spiralling planet. No, I shouldn't, said Alice, surprised into contradicting her at last. A hill can't be a valley, you know. That would be nonsense. The Red Queen shook her head. You may call it nonsense if you like, she said, but I've heard nonsense, compared with which that would be as sensible as a dictionary. Dear Goddess. Well, my neighbours do have to mow their lawn sometime, I suppose. My grass is already due to be mowed again, and it was just done almost 2 weeks ago. I'll have to get them onto it again. Summertime is the most expensive time for me with the mowing because it needs to happen every 2 weeks. And it's hard for the lawn mowing men because it's so freaking hot. Dear Goddess. Well, we shall inhale the wonderful fragrance and breathe light and love and joy and delight. Triumph over our adversaries and peace. L'chaim, Maliwax. I'm so bloody proud of you. So proud, like as if I were your mother, which I'm not. But I think he knows. He knows exactly how happy I am for him. Alice curtsied again, as she was afraid from the Queen's tone that she was a little offended, and they walked on in silence till they got to the top of the hill. For some minutes, Alice stood without speaking, looking out in all directions over the country, and a most curious country it was. Now we've got competition from a bird. There were a number of tiny little brooks running straight across it from side to side, and the ground between was divided up into squares by a number of little green hedges that reached from brook to brook. "I declare it's marked out just like a large chessboard," Alice said at last. "There ought to be some men moving about somewhere. And so there are," she added in a tone of delight, and her heart began to beat quick with excitement as she went on. "It's a great, huge game of chess that's being played all over the world, if this is the world you know. Oh, what fun it is! How I wish I was one of them. I wouldn't mind being a pawn, if only I might join, though, of course, I should like to be a queen best." Not everyone gets to be a queen, though. Sometimes you have to co-create with the gods and declare yourself queen of your own destiny, and be your own queen in your own royal queendom of your own imaginings and co-creation with the gods. Titania's realm belongs not to me but to Queen Titania and King Oberon, the king and queen of the forest fairy, and they're often present here in the garden. I mean, I don't see them, you understand, and I don't have direct communication with them, not like I have on occasion with the tree, but I know when they're here. It's a wonderful, joyful, warm feeling of love and protection and blessing. She glanced shyly at the real queen as she said this, but her companion only smiled pleasantly and said, "That's easily managed. You can be the White Queen's pawn if you like, as Lily's too young to play, and you're in the second square to begin with. And when you get to the 8th square, you'll be a queen." Just at this moment, somehow or other, they began to run. I wonder where they're running to, people of Earth. I guess we're about to find out. Alice never could quite make out, in thinking over it afterwards, how it was that they began. All she remembers is that they were running hand in hand, and the Queen went so fast that it was all she could do to keep up with her. And still the Queen kept crying, "Faster, faster!" But Alice felt she could not go faster, though she had no breath left to say so. The most curious part of the thing was that the trees and the other things round them never changed their places at all. However fast they went, they never seemed to pass anything. I wonder if all the things move along with us, thought poor, puzzled Alice. And the Queen seemed to guess her thought, for she cried, "Faster, don't try to talk." Not that Alice had any idea of doing that. She felt as if she would never be able to talk again. She was getting so much out of breath, and still the Queen cried, "Faster, faster," and dragged her along. "Are we nearly there?" Alice managed to pant out at last. "Nearly there?" the Queen repeated. "Why, we passed it 10 minutes ago. Faster!" And they ran on for a time in silence, with the wind whistling in Alice's ears and almost blowing her hair off her head, she fancied. "Now, now," cried the Queen. "Faster, faster." And they went so fast that at last they seemed to skim through the air, hardly touching the ground with their feet, till suddenly, just as Alice was getting quite exhausted, they stopped, and she found herself sitting on the ground, breathless and giddy. The Queen propped her up against a tree and said kindly, "You may rest a little now." Alice looked round her in great surprise. "Why, I do believe we've been under this tree the whole time. Everything's just as it was." "Of course it is," said the Queen. "What would you have it?" "Well, in our country," said Alice, still panting a little, "you'd generally get to somewhere else if you ran very fast for a long time, as we've been doing. A slow sort of country, said the Queen. "Now, here, you see, it takes all the running you can do to keep up in the same place. If you want to get somewhere else, you must run at least twice as fast as that." "I'd rather not try, please," said Alice. "I'm quite content to stay here, only I am so hot and thirsty." "I know what you'd like," the Queen said good-naturedly, taking a little box out of her pocket. "Have a biscuit?" Alice thought it would not be civil to say no, though it wasn't at all what she wanted. So she took it and ate it as well as she could, and it was very dry. And she thought she had never been so nearly choked in all her life. "While you're refreshing yourself," said the Queen, "I'll just take the measurements." And she took a ribbon out of her pocket, marked in inches, and began measuring the ground and sticking little pegs in here and there. "At the end of 2 yards," she said, putting in a peg to mark the distance, "I shall give you your directions. Have another biscuit?" "No, thank you," said Alice. "One's quite enough." "Thirst quenched, I hope," said the Queen. Alice did not know what to say to this, but luckily the Queen did not wait for an answer, but went on. "At the end of 3 yards, I shall repeat them, for fear of your forgetting them. At the end of 4, I shall say goodbye, and at the end of 5, I shall go." She had got all the pegs put in by this time, and Alice looked on with great interest as she returned to the tree and then began slowly walking down the row. At the 2-yard peg, she faced round and said, "A pawn goes 2 squares in its first move, you know. So you'll go very quickly through the 3rd square, by railway I should think, and you'll find yourself in the 4th square in no time. Well, that square belongs to Tweedledum and Tweedledee. fifth is mostly water. The sixth belongs to Humpty Dumpty. But you made no remark. I didn't know I had to make one just then, Alice faltered out. You should have said, the Queen went on in a tone of a grave reproof. It's extremely kind of you to tell me all this. However, we'll suppose it's said the seventh square is all forest. However, one of the knights will show you the way, and in the eighth square we shall be queens together. And it's all feasting and fun. Alice got up and curtsied and sat down again. At the next peg the Queen turned again, and this time she said, Speak in French when you can't think of the English for a thing. Turn out your toes as you walk, and remember who you are. She did not wait for Alice to curtsy this time, but walked on quickly to the next peg, where she turned for a moment to say goodbye, and then hurried on to the last. Here's Alice running down the hill. She ran down the hill and jumped. How it happened, Alice never knew, but exactly as she came to the last peg, she was gone. Whether she vanished into the air, or whether she ran quickly into the wood, and she can run very fast, thought Alice, there was no way of guessing. But she was gone, and Alice began to remember that she was a pawn, and that it would soon be time for her to move. And the great game of life, the journey of soul evolution, just keep moving, people on Earth. Just keep moving. Rest when you can, and when it's time to move, move. And if you can't move anywhere or change your situation, then at least find a live band somewhere and dance. Blessed be beautiful ones. I'll be back tomorrow with chapter 3, which is titled Looking Glass Insects. Sounds interesting, to say the least. Interesting insects in the looking glass. Bye for now. Have a beautiful day wherever you are in the space-time continuum. Love the ones who love you wholeheartedly. Rejoice and take comfort and ease with all that is, was, and ever shall be, and be blessed.